I'm here at a PGA Tour event in Florida, and this is play day, so all the pros behind me are playing their own equipment today. But earlier in the week, the manufacturers were out here in force with every piece of equipment imaginable for these guys to try out. Now, this is of interest to me because I've always had a small problem with my driver in that I hit down just enough to put too many revolutions per minute, RPMs, on the ball. So when you're in windy conditions or it's a little bit wet, you might get negative yardage or basically no roll. So I thought to myself, is the technology evolved so well at this point that rather than me having to really change my swing, the technology can do it for me?
There's two ways to get the ball to altitude. You can push it up there and save that spin so that it flies on the back end, or you can use spin to use the lift that gets it up there. That's the worst condition, because if you got a ball that's spinning a lot and it uses lift to get it to altitude, all the energy's gone and it falls like this. And I suspect that may be, a way that you can do it. If you can actually push that ball up there and get it higher and conserve that spin for the backside of that arc, then the ball's going to carry considerably farther, and that is the optimum, launch condition.
Achieving high launch and low spin is really done in the computer animated design of the actual club head, achieving a lower center of gravity, a deeper center of gravity. To get the highest launch low spin is what we're all trying to do, and getting the right spin to launch ratio is really the key to getting the longest drives.
I've always been more of a low spin guy, and so I've always tried to get my spin rates in the right level without sacrificing too much.
Is a pro spin rate different than an amateur spin rate? I mean, are you trying to get 2,600, 2,800?
Well, it depends on your launch. There's not an optimum just spin rate. It depends on your launch angle. It's somewhere between 11 and 12 degrees launch angle. The optimal rate is somewhere between 23 and 2,700, and I would say most pros are right in that area.
There's an optimum launch angle and spin rate that a person with a certain swing speed should have. It's been measured, and it's worthwhile for you to go in there and find out what that is. And sometimes not having enough loft or too much loft is bad for you. So it's a good thing not only to find out what's your proper loft for when you hit a good shot, but also the type of backspin you have on the driver, and then that'll maximize the distance you hit with the driver.
What kind of technology can get that RPM down without you starting to do pole positioning and hitting up and all those things?
Well, since you don't want to mess with the golf swing, which would be the easiest, a tip stiff golf club with a very forward, close to the face center of gravity, as high as possible in the face, and your spin rate's going to come off.
Based on this research, it was time to find an expert to analyze my swing. And in the Tampa Bay area, you couldn't do better than Bob Van Sweden, who has been named TaylorMade's Club Fitter of the Year. Bob operates his shop out of a large range facility where he set up his monitoring devices so he could do a good job of testing. In working with Bob, I did have several parameters. I wanted to benchmark using my own driver, a Titleist 9.5T with 8.5 degrees of loft. Now, the shaft is also fairly heavy. It's a speeder shaft from Fujikura, and it's stiff.
You want to bring your own equipment because you want to have a base. You want to compare your driver that you're playing today to the different drivers that you're hitting, because you want to see where the improvement is and how much or how little there is.
One other thing I wanted to do, test on an outdoor range.
I personally recommend to get fit outdoors. You want to see real ball flight. You don't want to hit into a cage, because cages really, you're not going to swing your full swing. You're going to feel a little more claustrophobic inside, because if I tell you you're hitting at 250, but you're only really hitting at 230, you don't know that in a hitting cage. But if I'm telling you that and we're outside and you see it's landing at 230 and I'm telling you it's 250, then you know that the numbers are a little skewed there. When I interview players before we start fitting, I ask them, what's most important to you coming into this fitting? Are you looking for distance or are you looking for accuracy? 9 out of 10 players say that number one is, I'm looking for more accuracy in the fairway, but distance is in second place, but very close to that. With drivers in particular, we're looking at two main characteristics, launch angle and backspin. If you simply took two garden hoses with the same amount of water pressure, and we set one at 8 degrees and we set the other one up at 11 degrees, the one with the 11-degree water is going to carry further. So we know that if we get the optimum launch angle, but we can reduce that backspin, we're going to get that player to hit the ball at their maximum ability with their ball speed and their club head speed and the best smash factor that they can hit.
We spent about an hour and a half testing and measuring a variety of drivers, varying things such as the models, lofts, and shafts in different configurations so we could hone in on the ideal matchup for my swing. That felt great. The results were surprising, especially in terms of distance.
Using your driver, the Titleist 905T 8.5 as the base, and finding that the carry distance was 232, 238 total. We have the brand new R9 Super Tri 9.5 with a Mitsubishi Fubuki 73 gram shaft. Carry distance was 229, 235 total. Lateral was at 12.0 to the right. You had a clubhead speed of 106.1, ball speed of 151.4. Smash factor was equal to the Titleist at 1.43. But here's where it makes the difference. Your spin rate was slightly lower at 2863, which 2800 is really in the ideal specs for good spin. And looking at the launch angle, 11 degrees is actually really a better launch angle for you at 11.4.
In the past, I had written about self-fitting your own set of clubs, and in my case, I came pretty close to the ideal. But there was one factor that was significant that I hadn't really analyzed much: dispersion, and that ended up being pretty significant.
This is with your Titleist driver. We're going to show you all the shots in simultaneous setting.
Now, what is the dominant line?
The dominant line on this is showing you had one shot that was outside the realm where you really pushed it out to the right. So it's going to show that shot. We're going to go to the R9 Super Tri 9.5. You had a much tighter dispersion. The balls were much straighter, in the fairway, much more. Your Titleist is in the blue lines here, meaning that it has a little bit wider dispersion. However, with the Fubuki, which is in green, the R9 Super Tri with the Fubuki 73 gram stiff, you had a much tighter dispersion. The balls were in a straighter line off a center mass, and more control, better accuracy, and the balls really actually traveled just as far as the Titleist, but with much more accuracy.
So based on Bob Van Sweeden's recommendation, it's going to be interesting to see how much improved accuracy affects my game. Now, as for really getting the RPMs down to the ideal amount, well, looks like I'll still be tweaking the swing a little bit. There are just so many shortcuts you can take. So as always, keep it simple, don't get in your own way. Jamie McWilliams here.